What up, friends? Welcome back to Books and Data with Lady O. This channel is all about providing you all with fun book recommendations. And for my data nerds, I am on a journey completing my Bachelor's of Science in Data Science, and I promise to bring you all along for the ride. So that is exactly what we're going to do today. What is it like to be a Bachelor's of Science and Data Science student? What does it look like for a real homework night for Lady O? Well, I'm ready to bring you all along, and we've got a fun bookish project to test out tonight. Let's dive in. All right, friends. So tonight's project is brought to you by none other than Miss Regina, teacher herself. And this evening, she is saying the textbook does not go into F test other than to mention it is a part of the data analysis tool pack in Excel. However, this page on the statistics how-to site explains F-test and has instructions for using Excel for hypothesis testing. The F-test is used in regression analysis, which I didn't choose regression analysis. I'd be extra. That's boring. Something new. I did a totally different one. But anyways, um, everyone else decided to do regression analysis, apparently, as far as the data analysis tool pack that we were discussing this week for our class. And well, I believe teacher just wanted to mix things up. So, conducting your own research, what can you learn about F-test? Now, I have been having just the funnest time this week diving into this tool pack because, to be quite honest, I didn't know existed. But that is okay because that's what we go to school, right? That's what we go to school for. We're going to school to learn. So let's go ahead and take a look at my data set here. And it's a hot mess, it's not a mess. It's mostly already structured, which is great. But we have quite a few steps to get through before we can get to the actual F test. So, taking a look at our requirements, teacher didn't really give us very much. She just said, conduct your own research. What can you learn about F testing? So, of course, I went ahead and dove right on in and did all the things. I did me some research. Now, the statistics it was rather helpful and it did exactly what she said it was going to do. So, what is an F test? An F test is basically used for statistics, and that's typically when people mention it, they're referring to comparing two variances. So, keyword two. In this case, we know that we're going to need two things to compare. Okay, I got you. So we only need to do two items. And down here, I gave a couple of things that you could test some hypothesis out on. It's got population. It's got, two samples that are equal. Yeah, so there's just the basic things that you could run your hypothesis on. However, this is Books and Data with Lady O. And what does Lady O love? Lady O loves to read. I like to do all things that, you know, refer to books because that's what we're here for, right? So when it comes to learning, I am all about you have to make learning fun. And that is what I love so much about my program with University of Phoenix is, as you just said, our textbook doesn't really go into much detail on this particular tool pack tool within Excel. So we got to, this is where that self-learning comes in the adult learning environment. Now, I will say, I personally kind of just like to go straight to the source. So, what is our source? Well, Microsoft, right? Excel is a Microsoft product. So, why don't we just go to Microsoft support? And I will say, I honestly appreciate Microsoft's example just a little bit more. So, jumping right in, F test function, what's it going to do? It's going to return the results of two-tailed probability that the variance in array 1 and array 2 are not significantly different. Use this function to determine whether two samples have different variances. For example, given test scores from a public-private school, we don't need that example because we're going to go back to our data now. So this is where the fun part comes in, I say. So let's get started. The first thing I need to do is I need to do a little bit of cleaning. What do we want to test? So I've got about 10,000 rows of data, and I will link in the description the data set that I'm using. So if you want to follow along or test this out on your own or get some good book recommendations, feel free to do so. So this data set, let's just do a quick overview. We've got the line for the book. We've got the book name, of course. And yeah, right at the top, we've got To Kill a Mockingbird and Harry Potter and Pride and Prejudice. That's pretty awesome. We've got the author. There's some descriptions in here. Now, when it comes to descriptions and doing statistics, statistics is mainly driven with numbers. So we're not going to be needing a bunch of that. So right off the bat, let's just go ahead and delete that line. I don't need that. All right. Now, this is where we're going to get into the fun part because I'm thinking it would be pretty fun to compare the variances of two, what do you call these? Two genres. I think comparing two genres to see how close they are as far as the ratings are, I think that would be fun. So let's take a look. We're going to have to pop over into Power Query and do a little bit of scrubbing because as you can see within these genre ranges, they have like several different ones. So like you can see classic fiction, young adult, school literature. We have to pare this way down to the basics. I just need two genres, and we're going to have to do a little bit more cleaning to get the averages on those ratings. So let's go ahead and head over to Power Query. Okay. Whoa, hold on. Before we jump over to Power Query, we got to do one more thing. We got this URL column. I'm not going to need that, so let's go ahead and delete that too. Number of ratings. For this one, I don't need that. However, that would be another fun project to do at another time. Because I believe the number of ratings does play into the actual results. So, say for instance, like, there's probably a few 5-star reads on here, but those 5-star reads maybe only have like 3 reviews, versus you have another 3-star read, but it has over 3,000 reviews. That would, show a little bit of biased in the results. Like, I mean, of course, you're going to have a 5-star review when you only have 5 ratings. That probably came from your friend, something like that. However, we're just going to keep this simple. And again, we just need to learn about the F test. Okay. So let's get rid of this column for now. And okay, so we have the book. I don't really need column A either. So I want to go ahead and get this data as clean as I can in the current state it's in. So when I jump over into Power Query, I cut out all the other noise and I just work on what I need to get done. I do want to go ahead and keep the book and the author. There may be some other things we could do with that a little bit later. But again, for right now, we are just going to be cleaning this genre column. So let's go ahead, Control T. My table does have headers. Great. Next, we are going to go to Data, Get Data from Table Range. And let's hope, excellent. I'm saying excellent and nothing is happening. Loading. Here we go. Let's pop on open our Power Query Editor. All right, so first thing I want to do is I need to separate all of these genres. And again, we're going to keep this plain and simple. I just want that first one. So, like how we have classic, fantasy, classic, classic, classic. I'm already seeing a trend here. There's a lot of classic and fantasy going on. But let's go ahead and split the columns. So, we are going to do genres, split column by delimiter. What delimiter are we going to split it by? We are going to split this by a comma. So right here, delimiter, and we've got our comma now. Split at, we are going to split at the leftmost delimiter. I don't want it to split at each occurrence because if we do that, then it's going to pop open like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7 different columns, and I don't really need that either. So I'm just going to do that leftmost delimiter. And yes, we're going to keep it split into columns. Awesome sauce. Okay. And oh, it's like magic. Yay. Okay. And we're going to get rid of this second column here with all the other genres that we don't need. So right click, remove. Great. Couple more things I want to clean up. We're just going to do an easy replace values. So it looks like they've got a couple of brackets and signs in there. So I'm going to replace those real quick. We don't want to replace them with anything. We just want to get them cleaned out. And let's see. I also see the little quote things, whatever that is. Don't need those. Okay. Thank you. All right. And another way to double check if you have any other mysterious things going on is just pop down over to your little caret and let's just go down here real quick. Oh, see, I see that we have some of the right brackets, so we need to remove those right brackets. Let's do that. Perfect. So let me get rid of this and replace values one more time, and let's get rid of that other right bracket. And again, I'm not replacing with anything. I just want it to be nice and clean. Cool. Now, usually I would go ahead and, label these to say what I did, but for this purpose, I don't necessarily need all that. It's quite apparent what I did. I just cleaned everything up. So cool. Load and close. One thing we absolutely love about Power Query is even though I'm sitting here messing with all of the things, it's not going to mess with my original data set. So that is nice. It's going to open me up a new sheet and my original data is going to be preserved. So that is the best thing about Power Query. All right, and our table is loading. And how do we know that our table loaded and preserved all of the rows? We can easily see 10,000 rows loaded. If we go back over to our raw data and, just pop this down right quick, I'll see there are 10,001 rows. And of course, that one is just counting my title. Okay, so let's go over to our table we have here. I'm going to rename this table. What do we want to rename it? I'm not that original with naming tables, so we're just going to go genre ratings. Genre ratings. Awesome. Okay, now again, for our F test, it only takes 2. So we're going to keep this nice and simple, and we're just going to pick ourselves 2 categories to go with. I saw classics on there, so let's go ahead and, oh, there's some Christian fiction. Okay, I want to compare Christian fiction. How about we compare that to, let's see if they do fiction. Okay. So let's compare Christian fiction with your streamlined fiction. Okay. Great. So now we have just fiction and Christian fiction on here. And that actually brought us down to 1,700 items, which doesn't work out horribly. I'm okay with that because man, 10,000 rows of data. That's another thing that Toolpak Tools is really good with is when you're working with really large data sets because it'll give us a holistic overview of everything that's happening in there. So next up we need to do is we have to get fiction and Christian fiction in side by side. So what do we need to do? You working way too hard. You need to pivot. Yeah, we're going to put it in a pivot table. Okay, so what are we doing? Let's go to insert. And we're going to do, let me just click in my table, insert pivot table. Now, I think I want to go ahead and let's put this on a new sheet. And we are going to click that Add to Data Model button. Why do we want to do that? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The Data Model button gives us a lot more power when it comes to working with that larger data set. And also, it'll make it really easy for us to use things such as splicers, timelines, things like that if you need it. But always checking that data model box when you're working with large sets. I mean, I think it's good practice for any sets since learning about the power of that button to just go ahead and click it, and you can get a lot more bang for your buck. Okay, let's go ahead and get our pivot table going. Okay, so we've got all of our data formatted. We're good to go. So we've got our 2 columns of Christian fiction and regular fiction. And as you can see, we can already see that there's a huge variance in the sample size. But again, that is okay, because what we're doing is we want to see, is there a variance between each individual sample size? So that's fine. We're just taking 2 sample sizes and comparing them. Now, to do this, we're going to go to our F-test. So data analysis. There we go. F-test to sample for variance. Okay. And let's get rid of this and put in our fresh data. All right. Variance range 1. And I'm just going to Control Shift down. All right. There's Christian fiction. Next, Control Shift down for our fiction. I'm going to turn on that label column because I do have labels in there. And our output range. We are going to put our output range in D1. Okay. And let's see if it'll take me back up there. All right. And there our data, our table popped up there. And let's just straighten out our columns a bit so we can see what's happening. Double click, come on. There we go. And let me just open up this next one. Perfect. Okay, so first up, we have the mean. And basically, the mean, statistically speaking, that is just the average. That's all that is. So that's the average rating for each one. And as you can see, the average rating for our Christian fiction group is going to be that 4.2. And for fiction, it's 3.9. But of course, if you want, you can round up to a solid 4. Why not? Okay. And up next, we have our variance. So the variance for each group, not very much as far as the difference between each rating. We've got that 0.07, 0.08 observations. That's obviously counting how many. And now is when we want to come down to the F statistic. So that's what we were doing, is this F function. And the F function, that's basically just dividing our variance, our 2 variances between each other. So with it being close to 1, because it's 0.97, I'll round that up and you get 1. Basically, the variance between the 2 is they're pretty similar. Yeah, right? So you can see the average. That kind of tells us what's happening. So as far as it is related between Christian fiction and secular fiction, the overall consensus is they're both rated around a 4. So if you want to come to a nice medium, sure, you can have a 4, right? But if you really want to get nitty gritty all up in your business, where do we have here? We've got our p value. So that one, it's showing like a little bit higher than that 0.05, which was what we put in as far as our variability there. But again, it's not really that much of a difference. So they're pretty similar. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what an F-test does. It's just another way to look at variances. I think something like this would be better suited. The population data that Microsoft was insisting on, that would be helpful. You know, if you're talking about maybe in a government setting, if we're doing, oh, I don't know, like talking about budgets and things like that, that's something where you want to be very specific as far as what's the variance between one township or another. If we're deciding where we got to split hairs as far as who gets what resource money or otherwise. This would also be another that could be decent for like you're in your HR aspect of work if you were looking at turnover or something like that. And again, most times you might be splitting hairs, but in some cases, I guess you would definitely be able to see if there's a grand viability, variability, variance or not between um, two specific samples. So there you have it. Easy F test. And basically, all I got to do now is go take everything that I just talked about with you guys and put that into words. And there we go. My homework is done for the evening. And yeah, I guess I will get to see you guys next time. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, share, like, share, subscribe, all the things. It is really late at night and Lady O is getting sleepy. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Appreciate you bunches. And of course, can't wait to do it again. Have a good night. Bye.